BrooklynCarKeys.com. I'm currently working on this 2016 Toyota Corolla. Customer had this key, they dropped it, it all came apart, and they lost the transponder out of it. So we came out here to make them a new transponder chip key, and when I'm done, I'll actually clone the transponder and put another chip in here so that they have this one as a backup. First thing I want to do is I want to get in the car and just verify I'm going to use the correct transponder, and these could be a possibility of a G chip or H chip. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use my VVDI Mini and try to see if I can sniff ignition data. So from my phone app, in the VVDI Mini option, so I'm going to go into special functions and look at ignition coil detection. So we have to connect to our VVDI Mini, and it tells me to put the antenna up to ignition and turn the key, and it will try to detect what the coil is, and it tells us it's an 8A, so we know this is an H-chip vehicle. And from inside the vehicle, it's just basically you hold up the antenna to the coil like that when you're using the app, and you turn it on and give it a few seconds, and it reads the ignition data. Alright, and even though I have a key that I could copy the blade, I'm actually going to pull the door handle so that we can cut the key by code. I don't know who made that key and how accurate it was, and she did say she had some issues with it when she first got it. So on the Toyotas, there's a little, well, the ones with the removable handles, the newer ones, they're not removable, but you can still pull them out. And it's a little bit more of a pain. We use a Torx 30. If you look right in there, there's a Torx screw. Let's go ahead and loosen it up. Now sometimes when you go to pull this out, that last thread is still catching, so you got to kind of, with two hands, pull on the lock and unscrew it. Sometimes I try to, just go like that, push the lock out a little bit. I might need two hands to do this. Oh, nope, I got it out. All right, and then on the key right here, there's a code that I'm gonna plug into my machine and cut this key by code. And hopefully, let's see if I can do this from my Key Tool Max. I control the key machine. All right, so we want to, give me 1 second. I'm on a little hill, my draw doesn't stay up. All right, so the key machine's on. So from the key machine, I'm gonna go ahead and select all keys lost. We could drop down to Toyota, and just give me 1 second to put this code in. All right, from our program, it tells us to use the M5 clamp A and align the key in position 3. So that's how we have it currently here. So I'm gonna go ahead and select OK and cut key. We'll go ahead and reconnect. Cut key, continue. And then, like always, it'll go through, it'll do all the checks of the position of the key. And then once it verifies the key is in the proper position, it will go ahead and cut the key by code. We always try to cut by code, that way if, that other key, if one of the cuts was wrong, we're not cutting another bad key. All right. Yeah, I know all these shavings are making a mess everywhere, but I plan on upgrading this machine to the new X-Horse Twins, which is all encased, and it will hold those shavings a little bit better. So yeah, I still got a lot of work to do on my setup, because this is actually going to be a top pull-out drawer where all my programmers are. The programmers aren't. This is actually my Honda key drawer, which is a mess, but my programmers are not supposed to be in there. But that's something for the future. But we got our new key cut, and what I also like to do with keys, let me go back to home, cancel. I also like to, the new key that I'm getting due, I just want to go and read the transponder just to make sure, verify that I have the correct 8A/H chip. Make sure it doesn't tell me that this is a Toyota G. And oddly enough, it told me no transponder detected. So let me just open up, make sure that this actually has a chip in it, make sure I didn't pull it for something else. And that's why we check before we start. It could have just been a misread, but let me just double check this and then we'll continue on to keep programming. All right, so there was definitely a transponder in there. That's what's missing from her original key. So I probably just had it in a bad position, but let me just go ahead and verify this. And while I'm at it, I'm going to set up her new key with a transponder in it. Okay, I think it was just in a bad position, but I was able to go ahead and read. And that's an 8A chip, and it does tell us it's clonable. So we could, essentially just program this key and clone it to her car, depending on the process. But it might be easier just to go ahead and program it while I'm programming this one, and program it as two separate keys. So I actually had a random Toyota 8A chip laying around that I had pulled out of another key that I need to put a G chip in, and I saved this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that chip and put it in her original key where she lost her transponder out of it. And I'll drop a little super glue in there so it doesn't come out again. And I'll go ahead and program both keys for the customer. All right, so I went ahead and dropped that chip in there and just put a little dab of crazy glue, and that will prevent it from falling out if if the key ever comes apart again. And it's not too much glue if I ever have to remove that chip for whatever reason. All right, now I'm inside the vehicle. I got my IM508 here set up, and we can look at a mobilizer light. It is flashing with the key on. That tells us this key is not programmed. All right, so once we program it, a master key, when you put it in, it would just be out. A slave key, you would get one blink and go out. All right, I am connected to the internet. Like if you do auto vid, it asks you to be on the internet. But I think you could go and manually select make a model, and it won't ask for internet connection. All right, so we auto read the VIN number. I'm just gonna go ahead and decode it. All right, so we got a 2015 Toyota Corolla, or it might be 2016. It's September of 2015, the build date. All right, so I'm gonna go into hot functions, and we're gonna select 8A because this is an H chip. Now remember I told you there's a possibility it could be a G chip. So if we go through this process and none of the keys will program or anything, we can go ahead and try to program a G chip to it. I did sniff the ignition. I've had it, tell me wrong stuff before, so just keep that in mind. All right, so actually, you know what? That's going to ask for a master key. All right, so let me go back. Let me go into control unit and see a mobilizer, H chip. All right, so what we want to do is a mobilizer reset, all keys lost, because we don't have a good master key to add keys into the system. All right, so this only works for the Middle East and USA. We're going to go ahead and click yes. All right, so there it is. It's checking the network. All right, so make sure the door stays open during the learning process. And how many keys do we want to register? We're going to put 2. All right, and hit enter. It tells us to turn the ignition off. Okay, turn the ignition on. Okay, and let us establish communication. And I believe once we do actually get into programming mode, our mobilizer light turns solid. Right, there it goes. All right, so it says turn the ignition off and remove the key. Okay. All right, turn the ignition on. Okay. All right, turn the ignition off and remove the key. Okay. Alright, so the following steps to learn one master key and one slave key within 120 seconds. Insert the master key, turn it on, and wait 5 seconds. Alright. And then it says insert the save key and turn it on, and wait 5 seconds. So we're going to do the same thing. We had our solid immobilizer light. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we'll go ahead and shut that off. And then it says we're going to quickly turn the ignition on and off 5 times until the security light goes out. I don't know why it's already out, but go ahead and... Alright, so right now we got a blinking light. When I put that in, the light goes out. The vehicle starts up and stays running. Alright, I'm just going to go back and just select this other one. As soon as I put the key in, there's no light. Turn it on, light stays out. And that stays running. So I believe this might have programmed both of these as master keys, because the slave key, like I said, would do one blink when you first put it in. So both of these might have actually programmed as master keys, which is not a problem. And then her original key, the remote was already programmed, so all we got to do is go in and add this key back, remote programming. So we're going to go ahead and select OK. Alright, so we can escape out of here, and go into remote system. Now, I'll probably need 2 hands to do this remote programming, but right now I can read number of remote controls. Alright, so make sure the door is open. And, alright, so right now there's 3 remote controls. I'm not sure on these Corollas what the max number is, but if I have a real hard time programming this, I'll probably just go ahead and erase them and add the 2 back in. Alright, so we're going to do remote control learning. Alright, so it says turn the ignition on, leave the driver's door open. Okay. And then basically once it goes through and does its checks, it's going to have us hold both buttons down for a second, let go, and then press one of them for another second. And we should hear a beep, and that lets us know the key was programmed to the car. All right, 6 more seconds. And this part I usually do first to just make sure that, I'm doing the correct remote to the car before I cut the blade, but you can always just open them up and swap the remotes out if it ends up being the wrong one. Alright, so we want to hold both and then press 1. We got the 2 beeps. Our learning was succeeded. We can go ahead, OK, shut the car off. So this was our original. And sometimes with the Toyotas, it takes a couple of seconds after you programmed it for the remote to actually respond, but we'll go ahead and give that a second. But it did, well, it said it learned, but we can actually go back and read number of remote controls. See if we switched from 3 to 4. And we got 4 remote controls. I don't know why, but I've noticed that with Toyotas, sometimes it takes a few seconds before they actually start responding to the vehicle. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get that lock back in, and this will be a completed job. All right, so I got the lock back in there, and just do one final test. That's our new key, and it literally took like 2 minutes before it started reacting, but we just verify their old key is done, and that is a completed job. Thanks for watching. LakelandCarKeys.com.